Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Sunday, May 2nd, 2021. My name is Teri Hunter and I'm here on Lotta's channel to talk about angels and astrology and the weekly forecast. Want to see, is anybody out there? Say hi, let me know you're here. Hello. Hi, Juan. Okay, good. I hope Loretta is doing well. Okay, so now that I know that we're all on the same page here, I'm excited. Okay, so what I want to talk about is we're embarking upon eclipse season. Pluto went retrograde. I think it was last week. Good morning, small wildflowers. Saturn is going to go retrograde this month. Mercury is going to go retrograde this month, and eclipse season, all starting at the end of the month. So it's important next couple of weeks to really start to set an intention, to allow yourself the privilege of starting to think about these eclipses as ushering in experiences and dynamics and things that have been in your vortex, in what you want to experience. I really believe that this last couple of years and this breakdown that we've experienced has given us an opportunity to step into a more authentic vibration and start to shift this planet into the playground that it's meant to be. And when I call it a playground, it's not from the absence of challenges, but rather experiencing those challenges on the lane that we want to experience, that we want to. If you want to be a singer, if you want to be a financial advisor, whatever your exciting thing is, when you're standing in that lane, then the challenges that you come across are really there to let you know you have resources, to offer you empowerment, and to offer you courage and bravery. That's the way I want to put it. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on this week astrologically. Today we have Mercury trining Pluto, which is a very interesting energy for me because it's really, what do I think? What do I speak? What do I talk? What do I read about? How do I engage my time? How do I engage my attention? Because we know a trine aspect is a favorable, harmonious aspect, but Pluto is always going to ask us to dig a little bit deeper. And Mercury, is a kind of a fast-moving energy. It feels very much sometimes like it's buzzing here and there, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily want to dig deep. So I think this is an opportunity to dig deep into the ideas of where am I putting my focus? What am I saturating myself with? Because if for some reason you're saturating yourself with too much news or too many challenges or issues, it may be setting your vibration in a place that is more challenging. So as you're aware of it, you can then shift that, because tomorrow Saturn is going to square the sun and Mercury will square Jupiter. So we go from this sort of, I want to say it this way, because a trine with Pluto feels, it's never, I can't say it's easy, but what I can say is it doesn't feel like it's throwing me under the bus. So when I go into this next couple of days and I'm really thinking about Jupiter and what do I believe about myself? What do I believe about the world? What do I believe about my path? Am I willing to venture into foreign lands in my mind, in my physical body, and start to shift that direction? And then on the 6th, Venus is going to trine Pluto. All of this I'm talking about is just this week. And the reason I bring it up is because Venus is our self-worth. Yes, it's our possessions. Yes, it is it's music, it's art, it's beauty. But I believe that this whole week is setting us up for this first eclipse that's going to happen at the last week of the month. And it's giving us an opportunity to have this eclipse work for us, because this eclipse is going to be in Sagittarius. So this week, if you find yourself getting caught up in energies, in conversations, because if you're walking through the world talking to some people that aren't aware that their conversation is teeing up their experiences, you may want to use this week as an opportunity to sidestep that, to show yourself that you don't have to engage either in an argument or engage in fixing someone else, but rather sidestepping it and allowing the universe to open up a new experience for you. Because I really think that's what's going on. Okay, so we're going to go into our readings now. Good morning, Posted Up. Good morning, Keegan. Good morning, CJD, Shelly, Intergalactic Freedom Keeper. I said hi to Juan, Michaela. Hope I didn't miss anybody. I just want to welcome everybody into the room today. And let's start with our Pisces and work our way towards Aries. Here we go, everybody. Truth Seeker, I'm just starting the readings. I start with Pisces and I work my way towards Aries. So Cancer will be towards the end of today's live. All right, here we go. Pisces, our first angel is Maya. The second is Teresa. The third is Oceana. And the final is Akasha. So as I'm shuffling, I want to note that tomorrow Mercury is going to be squaring Jupiter, which is Pisces' ancient ruler. So this is, I think, really an opportunity to take that tense conversation that a square reflects and really ask yourself if you have evolved past or through some of your beliefs. Because I feel as if it isn't about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's more about integrating it and really deciphering whether the things that you speak of, read, speak, think, saturate your mind in, are they still working for you? And thank you for the compliment on my sweater. Okay, Pisces. Maya is being joined by the Harmonious Wealth card. Teresa's being joined by Merlin. Oceana's being joined by the Burden card. And Akasha's being joined by the Owl. Well, this makes perfect sense for me because this is in the foundational position. Maya is our opportunity to educate ourselves. And it's always going to be about my energy, about my vibration, because this is how I manifest. Whether we realize it or not, our emotional body is where we start. It is the platform of our manifestation. So when we talk about rising, first is how we view the world. Our moon is our emotions, and then our sun, and then a stellium, which is very important. So you're learning, Pisces, how to step into a vibration of owning your own harmonious wealth. And rather than going into the idea of worrying about what everybody else is thinking, what everybody else is feeling, and it's not to the exclusion of their feelings. It's not about being cold-hearted, but about really being a little bit more in a leadership position. You know, Jupiter is the higher education. It is a very well-educated and knowledgeable energy and a connection to the angelic realm. So what I want to say is that we have this opportunity to really not educate by speaking to other people, but to say to ourselves, if I go into the pack and I worry about what everybody else is thinking, will I really be able to create the magic for myself, the harmonious wealth that I want for myself? And I want to offer it this way, because this is about stepping into a vibration that works for you, meaning as Mercury trines Pluto today, and you know this is while Mercury will square Jupiter tomorrow, it's still going to be in a bit of an aspect with this whole Pluto. So it's offering transformation in our beliefs and allowing ourselves to evolve past what has been before and integrating it so that we can step into a place of setting an example for others rather than trying to turn towards them and teach them. Because right now, in the angel's advice is Oceana saying to take action on your truth and to allow yourself to rise through the emotions. And this may be a bit of a burden because we're worrying about how people will process your own evolution, the own change of your being part of the pack and then sort of stepping out of the pack a little bit. Because in the final position is Akasha, the spiritual teacher, and the owl, which represents two sides of one coin. It's being able to see the wisdom and deception in any given thing. So as you go from the student and you start to pay attention to how do I create my own harmonious wealth, sometimes I have to do that by disconnecting from what everybody else is thinking, feeling, and experiencing. And that may sometimes seem a bit of a burden to step out of the pack. But when you do, I believe that you will learn that you will counsel others by your willingness to decipher what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and then stepping into the vibration that works for you. All right, let's go on to our Aquariuses. I go backwards, everybody. I started this almost a year and a half ago, it feels like. And I just can't seem to stop. And it's funny, when I actually try to go forwards on my own show, I get mixed up. Thank you, Rachel. These are new glasses. Decided to try a new shape. Keegan, I'm sorry to hear somebody feeling achy in there. Up here. Okay, on to Aquarius. How funny. Okay, Aquarius, our first angel is Maya. I'm going to start with rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you, Uncle Dan. Aurora is in our opportunity or our obstacle for Aquarius. In the angel's advice is Seraphina. And the final is Caressa. Welcome, Tivo. Welcome, Channel Oro. Welcome, Stephen. Amy, good to see you. Okay. I too have felt something with my teeth the last couple of days. And while I'm not a doctor and I don't pretend to be one, I will say that avoiding dairy when my teeth hurt or have been acting out, and I've been doing the celery juice and I've been doing oil pulling. And it all has made things feel better here. Okay, on to Aquarius. Maya is being joined by the transformational death card. Aurora is being joined by the love card. Seraphina is being joined by the stag. And Caressa is being joined by the high priestess. This is very interesting to me. So Aquarius, we've got the age of Aquarius is obviously upon us. We talk about that a lot, but I want to offer it this way because we have this retrograde season is coming. We're going to have, Jupiter's hasn't quite done it yet, but Jupiter's going to sneak into Pisces for a second and then move back into Aquarius. Saturn is going to go retrograde. This is an opportunity to really step into the idea that as Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, this feeling of constant innovation, wanting new things, wanting liberation, shocking others in some ways because you're willing to step out of the norm. And I believe that this is a great opportunity for you to see the leadership within yourself, Aquarius, to truly allow this transformation that is upon us. We are all being transformed. Some of us are being transformed in very large ways, and some of us are just feeling it in more small ways. But as we surrender to it, we really become empowered by it because we understand that we are contributing to these situations. And what I want to say for Aquarius is I feel like this love card here is really more about you falling in love with yourself as you continue to break the box, as you continue to fly high to the beat of your own drummer. Aurora talks about, she says, you're flying high right now. Don't descend. That may threaten others, but they will soon be inspired by your example. And there's the love card. And in the angel's advice, we have Seraphina and the leadership card, known as the stag. So as you continue to step out of the box to be authentic to your own individuality, then I feel like you offer others and yourself an opportunity to step in. The leadership thing is not about turning to others and saying, oh, follow me, follow me. It's really more about feeling good within your own body, which then inadvertently is a ripple effect of leadership, because Aquarius, you're at the end of a life cycle and new happiness awaits you. And as this awaits you, it falls in a line to more of what you have been calling forth. And I want to say this too, because I feel like you have a very intuitive feeling about this change that's coming. You have this very, it's almost as if you can feel it and it has not manifested yet. So as you feel this coming on, remember to align to this idea of how it will feel when you're stepping in the vibration versus the journey of the vibration. I've been thinking a lot about my own personal natal chart. And I have Saturn squaring my natal moon right now, which is only going to get more intense as the retrograde at the end of the month starts. I have Pluto squaring my ascendant, squaring my Mars, which will happen for years on end. And I started to feel very vulnerable to the planets. And then I realized that my whole chart has had these transits going on for my whole life. And I believe it's because I am an agent. I am a messenger. I am a servant to spirit of transformation. And if I had not experienced some of the Plutonian transformations as it conjuncted every single point in my chart, my North Node, my Sun, my Mars, my Neptune and Mercury, all of that, every single one of them. And now it's going into these squares. These squares to me, while I think about it, and I think about the tenseness, it's also how you build a strong foundation. So the reason I say this is because Aquarius, you're learning a lot about transformation and how to step into a place that's more authentic to you. And in doing so, I believe that this brings a lot of happiness to those in your intimate circle, and then it reaches out to those around you. And it's time for you to get excited about this as eclipse season shows up, and you'll start to feel the momentum of that. Keep your eye on the prize of what you want, because sometimes those fated events aren't about ripping the rug out from underneath you, but rather rolling out the red carpet so you can go enjoy your own award show. All right, here we go. Oh, Keegan, thank you. I take that as a wonderful compliment. Welcome, Paul Michael. So good to see you here. Okay, let's go on to our Capricorns, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. When you have a stellium, it is indicative of a strong intention within your life path, because you're putting a lot of planets in one house or sign. And some say 3, which is kind of a loose stellium, because I see that often. And then the 4, if there are 4 planets, I kind of prefer to go to the more strict dynamic, because then I see it in a way with a strong focus. And as you see that strong focus, it's about looking for the reward that comes through that journey. All right, here we go. Capricorn, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I love Yosemite. I've been there. And it's one of my most favorite memories, which I'll share with you on another time. All right, a yod, Yuri. That's a very powerful natal chart. So looking at where the house and the sign, because the house is going to indicate the landscape, the sign will indicate how it feels, and the yod will indicate, that finger pointing what it'll hone in what you're working on. All right, here we go. Capricorn, our first angel is Rosetta. The second is Maya. Wow, Maya's showing up a lot. Sonia is in the 3rd position, and the final position is Grace and Antoinette. Whoop. Welcome, William. Aloha. All righty. Capricorn, Rosetta is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Maya is being joined by the bear. Sonia's being joined by the deer. And Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the partnership card. Okay. If I were to do a personal reading, Rosetta would resonate in a very different way depending upon who it and what it is. But when I'm talking to such a potentially large group, I believe that Rosetta is talking about the inner child. Capricorn, we talk a lot about the goats, how I love my goats. I've been a fan of Capricorn for I don't even know how long. But when I start to think of Capricorn, I don't think of the depressed side. I don't think of the restrictive side. I think of the opportunities that Capricorn offers me when I'm willing to do the hard work, and how important it is for me to be in the lane I want to be in order to enjoy that work. And that's what Rosetta is talking about. What does your inner child, do you have the courage to walk through the obligation? Do you have the courage, Capricorn, to walk through your stoic energy that does not what you like, but what is expected of you, and to start to play to your own heart? Because Maya is offering you an education into the story you tell yourself, and into the story that ties you to your history, that says, I have to, I should, I'm expected to do this. Because your guides are asking you to be gentle and diplomatic with yourself as you start to write a new story. And that new story is really more not about the outside of yourself, but the two sides of inside yourself. There's the child that has no boundaries. The child learns boundaries. The child learns that magic isn't real. The child learns that the world is a scary place sometimes. I mean, maybe not every child learns it's scary, but we come in trusting and we learn to be less trusting. So for Capricorn, I believe that this is an opportunity for you to come into a compassionate state with yourself as you review your partnership with your own inner child, with the part of you that wants to break free, the part of you that wants to just get on the road and experience what you want, the part that wants to laugh unabashedly, the part that wants to be silly, and then the part of you that thinks, I need to follow the rules. I need to make sure I do it right. I need to cross my T's and dot my I's. So I want to offer this because Pluto is trining Mercury today. We have Jupiter and the Sun, Jupiter and Mercury in square tomorrow, as well as the Sun and Saturn. So as you start to think about what is the story I tell myself? Are the rules and the regulations I've been following in alignment with where I want to go and what do I want to experience? And then start to align to that and to give yourself permission to be gentle with yourself as you engage spirit as your partner. And you say, it's hard for me to let go of what's expected of me. It's hard for me not to be dutiful to those that I have an obligation to. So Spirit, give me a new experience so that I can step into the leadership that I am and trust that the inner child deserves to play, to come out, to enjoy life, and to evolve along with your own version of yourself. That's the way I want to put it. Because it's really going to take courage for Capricorn to start to be a baby goat. Those little baby goats have so much fun. They dance, they play, they bounce up and down. So it's time to have compassion for yourself as you step out of that very grown-up energy. You know, grown-ups don't always have it right, if you ask me. I think we should listen to children a little bit more. All right, let's go on to our Sagittariuses. All right. Uncle Dan, I don't know if you said that, but if your mother said suffering builds character, my mother used to say that. And I used to look at her and I used to say, I have more character than anybody needs. So I don't need to suffer. I'm not into it. I don't buy that. And that's, I love Buddhism, but I'm not into the whole suffering thing. Yes, I know there's contrasting experiences, but I don't know. I think that's the human that thinks we have to suffer. I think if we're willing to identify an unpleasant experience as a piece of information, I don't like that. Let's go this direction. Versus thinking, oh, I've got to continue to do what I don't enjoy. All right, Sagittarius. Here we go. Oh, Uncle Dan, your mom was a Virgo? Okay. So she was probably a very practical woman. Here we go. Here we go. Sagittarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Azure. The second is Caressa. The third is Archangel Michael. And the final is Aurora. Suffering is a slippery slope because the human is taught that they deserve to suffer. I absolutely don't think that's true. And I think suffering has a lot to do with the way we think and what we're taught, and what we read, and what we saturate our mind with. Woo. All right. Azure is being joined by the dragon. Caressa is being joined by the fire fairy. Archangel Michael is being joined by the high priestess. And Aurora is being joined by the fear card. All right, Sagittarius. Azure says, your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. And there's the dragon. And the dragon is so interesting to me because it's about power and strength. And where does the power come from? Look how calm. This is a calm, cool, collected energy. It's almost as if Sagittarius being connected to, this eclipse is going to be in Sagittarius. It's a full moon lunar eclipse. And what I believe as the month is going, as we experience this trine between Pluto and Mercury, and we think, how am I thinking? What am I saturating myself with, my mind with? And then we go into on the 6th, Venus and Pluto in trine. So what is my self-worth? How do I allow myself to enjoy myself? Because Venus likes to enjoy herself. And we deserve to enjoy ourselves. So, Sagittarius, as you practice this kind of cool energy of, you know what, I have done the work. And this is where I really feel like Spirit is starting to kind of give me this ongoing theme of we have been doing the work. And part of us, each one of us, Tila, Keegan, Uncle Dan, Stephen, Tebow, Small Wildflowers, Juan, all of us, as we sit and start to bask in our own journey, I have done the work, a lot of it. Lucy Rose has been doing the work. William's been doing the work. Then we can really enjoy the new chapter because that's what Caressa has to offer for Sagittarius and all of us. A new chapter, a new happiness. And it's time to be excited about this, to sort of be able to sit and, you know what? Yeah, I have been doing the work. And now it's time to enjoy that work. Because Archangel Michael is asking you to have courage to make those divine life changes that move you towards the version of what you want and what you want to experience and what you have been working so hard on. Because Aurora is saying that you're flying high right now. Don't descend, because your willingness to step outside the box, to acknowledge your growth and to sit in it. You know what? I'm not that old version of myself anymore. I'm not angry anymore. I have moments of anger, but I don't sit there. Or maybe you've been feeling disempowered. I don't ever get this. I don't ever get what I want. But you've been starting to think, you know what? I do. Because what I think, Sagittarius, is you're about to show people how fear is merely false evidence appearing real. And when I'm brave enough, as Archangel Michael is asking me to be, to step further and further into my own version of myself, which is where you're moving into foreign territory, then you truly do educate others, not by what you've told them, but how they have experienced your bravery. And then they want some of that. Let me have some of that. And you'll just say, well, you got to figure out how to be brave for your own version of yourself. Because being brave is being willing to take that step without contemplating how to stay in the old vibration. All right, let's go on to Scorpio. The Diamond Mind, welcome. I think you're new to the room. I appreciate your joining us. It is hard changing frequencies, but I think part of the reason why it's hard is because we don't acknowledge that it's a gradual sort of ascension into the vibration that we want. And so often we just seek the holes. Oh, I didn't feel that hole. I didn't feel that hole. I'm not right here. I'm not good enough here. That is so human. So, and rather than saying that, it's like, wow, you know what? Normally I would be like complaining about that, or I would be bitching about that, or I'd be hurt about that. And you know what? I've decided to take that off the table. Oh, I acknowledge that. Oh, and then that starts to set a new momentum, which opens like the floodgates for spirit to show you new experiences, because they're not doing it to gift you. Okay, this isn't like, ooh, you're special, let me gift you with a new experience. No, you aligned to it, so you brought it in, and thereby kicked in the laws of attraction, which then kicked in the law of allowing, which then made you a great teacher for all that walk along your path. Because when they do the same thing, they can have the same experience. All right, Scorpio, here we go. Juan, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of your patience with me all over the place. All right, Scorpio, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Astera. The second is Isabella. The third is Adriana. And the final is Serena. All right. Astera is being joined by the spider. Isabella is being joined by the Grail Knight. Adriana is being joined by the Novice. And Serena is being joined by the Transformational Death card. Okay. Astera says to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and not to compromise. And Scorpio, the spider, while it talks about creative projects, I always see it as a relationship card. It has come that way, so Spirit will bring on. Reach for the stars with your dreams and desires when it comes to your relationships. And I want to say it this way because, yes, do I think this is about intimate relationships? I do. But I want to say it as almost as in a complete circle, because I feel like Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto is making some very favorable aspects to two important planets this week, Venus and Mercury. Venus, and I'm going to focus on the planet of self-worth, that aspect of Venus, and Mercury. What do I talk about? What do I tell myself? What do I think about? What do I saturate my mind with? Because this is where your ego lives. So as Scorpio says, you know what? I'm reaching for the stars with my dreams and desires in relationship. And at the same time, I'm taking my hand off the wheel. I don't need to micromanage my life when it comes to relationships because, and I'm going to go to the final position and then I'll go into the other two. Serena is the angel of abundance. And I want you to note her position. Her eyes are closed. She feels like she's like almost in a dancey, jazzy feel to me. And there's the transformation. This is Pluto. And to me, Pluto is bringing Scorpio an opportunity to relax, to trust that as they open and allow Spirit, your job is just to keep your eye on the prize, because Spirit in the opportunity of the obstacle is saying, yes, the timing is right for you to experience this relationship that you're looking for, the depths of the relationship. And I want to say it this way, because I could say this is about yourself. This is a relationship with yourself, but I don't think so. I think many Scorpios are wanting to experience relationships with other people, friends, intimate partners, kind of get into a less superficial relationships and more meat and potatoes, I want to say, because Adriana is leading you to the answers towards your prayers, and there's the unstable new beginning in the form of the Novice. So as you say to Spirit, I don't know if I've told you guys, but I have this image of a dinner party in my mind's eye. I don't know who's at this dinner party, but I imagine great food, which I'm a Taurus moon, so I love good food. I imagine good drink, good company, and conversation that transcends the petty. It's like people being able to, and I'm going to be maybe sound inflammatory, but people being able to talk about, Trump and politics without being judgy or without being, extreme. Because I want to be able to talk and to explore the various opportunities we have through these contrasting experiences, and then to share them with others without having to combat or convince. So I think that's what's being offered for Scorpio, is this opportunity to experience things at a deeper level as you call them forth. I believe your opportunity is to say, yes, this is the timing of this. It's right. I'm ready to step into it. I'm ready to let spirit lead me to this. And my job is to sit in the depths of how it feels while the transformation takes place. All right, let's go on to our Libras, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay. Kayla, I'm Teri Hunter. I go backwards. I just finished Scorpio and I'm about to start Libra. Hey, Scott. Good to see you. Welcome. Oh, CJD, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, honestly, these years are so transformational. We're not talking about Uranus that is still, in the mix there, playing around, triggering everything. I mean, there's just so much. Because if we talked about every single aspect every week, we would be talking about a lot of the same things. But I think that it's sort of this, I guess where I'm trying to go is, as we walk through these weird feeling off things and feeling kind of funky, I kind of want to say to myself, am I being authentic to myself or am I not? Because I feel like if we're being authentic to ourselves, then that little funkiness might kind of evaporate a little bit. That's the way I want to say it. Welcome, Tina. I don't know how to say it. Garrod? Good to see you. Hi, JR. I think that the COVID that has impacted the universe is also sort of, the universe has put us in a timeout so we could allow for this recalibration. All right, Libra, here we go. Our first angel is Chantal, the angel of romance. Our second is Fiona. The third is Crystal. And the final is Oceana. Saging at this time, I think, is a really good idea for you guys, and being really mindful of what you're putting in the temple of your body to help go through these transitions. Some people had mentioned that their teeth were bothering them. And I know that for me, what I've noticed, I'm 61 years old now, everybody. So I don't get to enjoy dairy the way I used to. And a few weeks ago, I was really craving comfort food. So I went into a couple days of eating macaroni and cheese. And I even bought organic macaroni and cheese, thinking it was so good. And 3 days later, my mouth felt like crap because the dairy does something to me that didn't do it before. So I want to offer that if you guys are noticing this kind of in your watch the dairy. All right, Libra, Chantal is being joined by the frog. Fiona's being joined by the partnership card. Crystal's being joined by the joy card. And Oceana's being joined by the truth card. Okay, so we know Libra is a sign of partnerships. And I kind of think it's funny because Libra is a sign of partnerships, and it's the only astrological sign that does not have a living thing as its symbol. Instead, it has the scales of justice, which I don't think we focus in on. So I want to offer this way because I think a lot about Libra being diplomatic in its expression, being cooperative but not too compromising. Because if we're being too compromising, we're not actually serving anyone, because we're building up this ball of, we need balance and exchange. So if we're over giving, Libra will inadvertently become a little resentful for not receiving. So this is where I'm going with. I believe that Libra has an opportunity. This is Chantal, the angel of romance, and here's the frog. It's about leaping to a new lily pad. We're talking about these eclipses bringing in fated events. And if there are Libras that want to be in partnership, want to start to have that give and take, then it's time to start to think that it's your moment. It's time to start to give yourself an opportunity to say, you know what? I have been evolving. And the reason I haven't been in a partnership, for those of you that are single, is because I have not felt the true alignment that I need to thrive. And those of you that are in a partnership, I think it's an opportunity to start to focus in on what is working, because Fiona is in the opportunity or the obstacle. She's an angel that says, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving their guidance. And then here's the partnership card. So I really want to offer this idea that Libra, in your fairness, which is the good news, is starting to think that if indeed things have been challenging, now they can start to get better. Because Spirit is saying, Libra, there's more on the horizon that you can't see. Have faith and hope, because joy is being offered to you. And that joy is, again, this is where I want to go back to the idea of these transits, that Venus, which rules Libra, I don't care where it is, what house it's in. I think right now it's in Gemini. I didn't check that before the broadcast, but I want to say it this way, because Venus is my self-worth. Venus loves praise. Venus loves to feel warm and fuzzy and appreciated. And I feel like this is part of what we get to call forth, Libra, is that this is part, I've been evolving into this place to accept this idea of enjoying love in a very balanced what's the word I want to use? Self-supporting, and yet there's just a savoriness that I think is being offered, because in the final position is the Truth card. And Oceana is saying to take action in believing that love is much more fun, fair, and in a thriving energy. That's what I want to say. Being a Libra sun and having people look at my birth chart, oftentimes I can feel, being an intuitive, that they don't like the way my partnership sector looks, because I've got Mars and the Sun very close together, which makes it look like I'm a difficult partner. But you know what? I've evolved past that. Yes, I'm self-actualized, and yes, I'm willing to assert myself in expressing myself. But it doesn't mean that I have to be all Martian and argumentative in relationships anymore. So I want to offer that for my Libras, my Libra rising, moon, sun, and stelliums, that you don't have to be over compromising. You don't have to be overly cooperative. You don't have to be overly balanced. You can express your own needs, and now see that Spirit will bring you experiences in your intimate body that will serve that dynamic. So, okay, that's where I'm going. All right. And I want to thank, I'm going to look real quickly. I want to thank Paul, Michael, thank you so much for the 1111. That's just, I feel so loved. Thank you so much. And Keegan. All right, let's talk about quitting smoking before I go on to Virgo. I used to smoke for a long time. I was quite a particular smoker. I wouldn't smoke in the house, only on the patio. Wouldn't smoke in front of people that I liked, because I didn't want them not to like me. But boy, when I got around people that liked to smoke, I was puffing away. So when I decided before I turned 50, I didn't want to smoke anymore. And how it played out was, I was a patch girl, don't have much body mass. So those look how soft my arm is. Anyway, patches were kind of crappy. But the main thing I did was ask myself if every time I lit that cigarette, was I purporting a self-love? Was I walking my talk? Because if I truly loved myself, why am I slowly trying to kill myself? And then I started to literally be annoying. And I counted every day that I didn't smoke was a day I demonstrated self-love. And there was one friend that I drove crazy when, like, practically every day I'd be like, 12 days I haven't smoked, 30 days I haven't smoked, 112 days. I mean, I had to count for almost a full year. But when I did it, then I got some momentum there. I have self-love. I know how to show self-love. And this is the old version of me that hated myself. And it was also the version of me that could only bond with my father when I was smoking. So when I started to decide that I wanted to bond with people not in a negative vibration, but in a positive vibration, I started to purport and think about that versus just the idea of being addicted to something. My dad, yeah, so that's how we bonded. The only time my dad ever talked to me really was when we were outside smoking because we were the only two in the family. And I wonder why I started smoking. All right, on to our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. But when you're smoking, just ask yourself, because if smoking, George Burns had a cigar every day of his life, and he lived to be like almost 100, if not 100. But I think he really enjoyed that cigar. So just think about it. Is this an act of self-love? If it's an act of self-love, think twice. And it might make it easier to quit smoking. All right, here we go. Virgo. Our first angel is Oceana. The second is Isabella. The third is Serafina. And the final is Rochelle. All right, here we go. Oh, joining Oceana is the Death card, which is transformation. Joining Isabella is the Movement card. Joining Serafina is the Wind fairy. And joining Rochelle is the Perception card. Okay, so Virgo. It's funny to me because some of the signs that get a lot of, what's the word I want to use? Crap for being a little persnickety are the signs I love so much. I love Virgo. I love the dependability of Virgo. I love the stability of Virgo. Do I like when Virgo's a little bit self-critical? Not so much. So this is what I want to say. For my Virgos, this is an opportunity to really rise, take action towards what you love, and to allow for the transformation. And when I say that, I mean it's now the perfection of imperfection. Of all the signs, Virgo tries the hardest to do everything right, to be perfect. And I don't know if they're trying for themselves or they're trying for other people. So now is the time. Yes, the timing is right for this new venture to move into a place where you feel more happiness because you're starting to pay attention to your thoughts. And those thoughts are not meant to be criticized. It's about assessment versus judgment. Does this work for me? Because in the final position is Rochelle saying, as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming to you because you're now starting to see your perception. You're starting to see how maybe old lines of thought are really not, they've expired. They're not really applicable anymore. So as you've allowed yourself the evolution, this is what Spirit has been just kind of on some level hammering to me to bring to the audience. You have been working on this transformation. Now it's a little bit of a time to start to acknowledge it, to savor it, to settle into it. And if you see yourself going a little back and forth, there's that hamster wheel thought again. It's not about criticizing it. It's just awareness. And then do I need that thought? Or do I move past that thought? Oh, that's okay. I've had that thought before. I think I have a new thought now. Gentility with this journey, allowing for the ease of movement, allowing the Mercury Pluto trine to work for you instead of pulling you under. Because as we move towards the Venus-Pluto trine, you have an opportunity to really start to assess and to take inventory on all the really amazing things that you're proud of. And as you start to sit there, boy, let's look at that momentum start to kick in the laws of attraction. And then it's Virgo's job to allow it in, not to think I've got more work to do. Good things are happening. I better work extra hard to make sure they stay. No, we want to relax into it. All right, here we go on to our Leos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I don't really understand what that comment dragana means. I really kind of think it's a little bit critical, to be honest with you. And I don't know if you've been here long enough to make that assessment. So there you go. Because I've been doing this a long time. And if you don't think I'm qualified to be a teacher, you don't need to sit in our chat. I kind of took a little offense to that, to be honest with you. All right, here we go. Leo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Archangel Uriel. Our second is Caressa. The third is Sonia. And the final is Opal. All right, here we go. Small, you didn't miss anything. It's just his opinion or her opinion. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Wealth card. Caressa is being joined by the Bee card. Sonia is being joined by the Burden card. And Opal is being joined by the Spider card. All right, this is very interesting. So I want to kind of put it this way. Archangel Uriel deals with frustration and anger, helps you deal with unforgiveness, and then we have the Harmonious Wealth card here. I want to offer it this way because this frustration, having the environment that the world has been in for the last year and even more, because we were seeing when Saturn started its migration into Capricorn towards Pluto, we really started to see things breaking up and changing. So now for Leo, to me, Leo, I kind of want to back up a little bit because the sun rules Leo. Okay, it rules the whole zodiac. And as a result, I believe that the sun is constantly asking us, are we standing in our fifth house energy? Are you enjoying your life? Are you doing what you love? Are you expressing your creativity? Because I feel like when I look at this and I see the frustration here, I feel like this is Leo feeling a little clipped, a little pinched. And I want to offer the idea that this chapter is ending. And now it's really about sweet victory. It's about your luck, and it's about your being energy and allowing yourself to connect with a deeper part of yourself. I want to offer it this way. Sonia represents our deceased loved ones, and we have the Burden card. And I don't know that I want to put it this way, because I don't think it's a burden for Leo to connect with their guides. I don't think that it's a burden per se I guess the way I want to put it is I think Leo might be trying to work too hard for themselves, meaning because Leo is a leadership sign, you may be frustrated because you've been trying to blaze this trail for yourself. And what Spirit is trying to say is that there's a opportunity for you to connect with Spirit in your being energy, to stand in the vibration of what you want a little bit more. I guess I want to use the word succinctly, because this frustration feels like it's the frustration of my co-creation, because here in the final position, oh, nice, is Opal and the Spider. Opal represents my children being taken care of by God and the angels. And here's my partnership card. This is the partnership with Spirit. I want to offer this to Leo. As we're walking through this week and heading towards eclipse season, if you feel yourself frustrated because of people aren't understanding how you're trying to communicate, or people are thinking that you're being too frustrated. That's the way I want to. I don't really feel like this is anger. It feels like frustration. It feels like you've been communicating something and it's almost like you're speaking a foreign language to whoever you're talking to. And now I feel like I want to pull that off, that there's in some ways this opportunity to connect with Spirit, to say, you know what, I don't know if this is all, if I'm being as effectual. So what I would like is for Spirit to start to open that space for the other party to hear the depths of my communication versus the superficial part of it. Because sometimes if we think about it, when we communicate, we trigger a thought in the other person's head, and then they start thinking about that and they actually don't hear what we're saying. So I feel like that's part of what's going on for Leo. And I also want to say this, because if there are Leos that are wanting to have children, if you are of childbearing years and you've been frustrated with it, I want you to start to think about the idea that if you are being born with this natal chart right now, would you want all these squares? Would you want in the last 2 years to have Saturn and Pluto conjunct? Because I think that there's an opportunity for you to invite in new souls if you're of childbearing years. And as we move with these, as these aspects start to lighten up and move away from each other, the idea that you could get pregnant or your partner could get pregnant or children could come to you might be a more favorable thing. That's where I want to go with that, because that feels very strong to me as well. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. Sorry, that guy threw me off a little bit. I got to admit it. My ego got checked. Okay, on to our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right. Our first angel for Cancer is Archangel Raphael. The second is Indriel. The third is Maya. And the final is Sonia. Thank you, Mara. All right, here we go. Hi, Dave. Or Dav, I should say Dav. And then there's Dev. All right, here we go. Welcome, Cheryl. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the partnership card. Indriel is being joined by the goblin. Maya is being joined by the love card. And Sonia is being joined by the joy card. All right, Cancer. Archangel Raphael and the partnership card. I want to say this for my Cancers. I absolutely believe this is about straight up love. I feel like there is an offering of a healing. And I want to say it this way, because the healing does not come from, let's say, we've been fighting in a relationship. I think the healing comes from an epiphany about how Cancer is viewing relationships, whether you're in a relationship or not. Because Indriel is the light worker, and we see both Archangel Raphael with this big, bright white light around his head, and then we see Indriel with that same energy. And what I believe this is Indriel is pointing out to you where You have been edging God out, where the ego has been kind of over worried, micromanaging. I haven't seen it, so how do I believe it? Because in the angel's advice, you're learning something about love. And I want to offer it this way, because what you're learning is about the laws of attraction, about what you deeply believe in love. And I want to start to offer it this way, because some of you as Cancers may feel like, well, I've been wanting a partnership for a long time. I believe that Spirit has been activating souls on the planet to come together at maybe what's considered later ages or later chapters of life, because we are rewriting the aging process. We are rewriting how the rules go on this planet. And rather than looking to what has been and how to fit into that, we're starting to write what feels and works for me. Because Cancer, there is Sonia, which represents a deceased loved one. But for me, when I'm talking to such a large group of people, this represents your angelic team, your heavenly hosts, your guides and your angels. And there is the joy card, because they are bringing that partnership, or they're starting to help you rebalance your relationship. This is very important for me, Cancer, in many ways, to trust your moon, to trust your intuition. And rather than think, well, I haven't seen it and I want it so bad. Is it going to show up? Is it going to show up? It's like, no, I know it's going to show up. And the reason it hasn't shown up, or the reason it's been out of balance, is so we have an opportunity to demonstrate balance, to demonstrate faith, to demonstrate trust, not only in the universe to supply us with what we need, but in our own intention, what we did. This is why I talk about the birth chart being like a natal contract that you've made with your soul. So if indeed, intergalactic freedom keeper, you've been single for 4 years and 42 years old, you're exactly the person that I'm talking to. I believe that society has put us out to pasture entirely too soon. And that as we believe and then start to align to that idea, and we start to realize that God and the angels are here to give us the strength to believe. And this is, again, Venus would represent relationships in some ways, the trine with Pluto on the 6th, and Mercury. What do you believe about this? Because as you express joy, I know you're bringing me somebody, and I know that that person is going to be in alignment with me, versus how many relationships we get into that are out of alignment, and we stick with them because we don't want to get back on the road. All right, let's go on to our Geminis. Rising moon, sun, and stellium. I want to say this for those of you that have been single for 4 years. I see our Libra moon goddess is the same thing. Of 3 of those years, of the 4, very challenging aspects. We started having challenging aspects in the end of December. Well, we always have them, but these Saturn started to enter Capricorn, and then we saw Mars and Jupiter and everybody starting transit. This was about kind of digging in deep and breaking up what wasn't working. So now I feel like it's a much more fertile time for y'all to put in your intentions to Spirit, and not about what you've experienced, but what you want to experience in a relationship. The alignment of conversation, the alignment of belief, both spiritual and material. And in doing so, then Spirit starts to bring that into your sphere. And your job is not to figure out how they're going to do that, just to be aligned to it. Okay, here we go. On to our Geminis, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Shelly, you love your Kyle Gray cards, don't you? I do too. I use them a lot in my personal readings. I haven't been using them in these. I use them on the other show a little bit more. All right, here we go. Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Grace and Antoinette. Our second is Teresa. The third is Bridget. And the final is Estera. Kayla, you can go to Lotta's website and she has a free birth calculator. All you need to know is your time of birth, obviously the day and location, and then you can see where your other planets are located. All right, for our Geminis, Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the dog. Teresa is being joined by the fire fairy. Bridget is being joined by the movement card. And Estera is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Okay, here we go. I want to say that I believe, regardless of the sign, I think a lot of people have been transforming over these last couple of years in the sense of the lockdown, a lot of people have gotten to be very singular, very, very isolated and solitary. And I believe that this has made people want to actually reconnect in a way that's very authentic, much more authentic to their truth rather than to the roles we play for one another. So for Gemini, Grace and Antoinette is asking you to have compassion, to see things not only from your perspective, but from another person's perspective. And here we have the dog card, which represents unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity. For those of you that are involved in a relationship, I think this is not just having compassion for your partner, but for yourself as you've been walking through some challenging times and redefining your love life in many ways. For those of you that are single, this is having compassion for yourself as you have experienced the ups and downs of wanting to be with someone and then feeling, I almost feel like Gemini's been going, I want to be with someone, I don't want to be with someone. I want to be with someone, I don't want to be with someone. I want to be with someone, but I don't want to be with the wrong person. And so having compassion for yourself, if you've been shooting back and forth in your head, because I have Teresa, the card of worry. It's also about caring more about what other people are thinking than you care about what you're thinking. And then here's the fire fairy asking you to have creative action and optimism. And I want to say it this way because in the angel's advice is Bridget saying to look deeper, and there's the movement card. I believe that Gemini has been really calling forth a deeper experience, not only from their partnerships, but also from themselves. I think that Gemini has been asking themselves really not only what do I want to show up for me, but how do I want to show up for others? Because in the final position is Estera saying to reach for the stars and to have the courage to stand in this energy of compassion for yourself as you've elevated what you've told the universe that you want. And then the universe is going to come back around and actually bring you an opportunity. And I want to say it this way because it's your job to assess the opportunity, not to judge the opportunity, not to jump at the opportunity, and not to push away at the opportunity. I feel very much like Gemini has been there's this feeling of really, it's got this head and heart feeling for me. It's like part of me if my heart's being filled, or if I feel the romantic love, then maybe I'm not feeling the mental stimuli that I need. Or if I'm feeling the mental stimuli, then I'm not feeling the courtship that I'd like. And I feel like now is having the compassion is not only to give life to that idea and connect with spirit about that idea, but also to express that in a way of compassion, in a way that you would want to hear it, in a way that is authentic to you and opens up a space for your partner and or spirit to bring in a partner that is aligned to that dynamic. As we age in relationships, the most important thing is communication, an ability to be able to express both our likes and dislikes, our challenges and our strengths. And I think oftentimes the human, when it hears something that it thinks is not favorable, then it'll just shut it down. And I think this is where Spirit is going with Gemini, is that to think and have compassion for yourself as you look at this as a more balancing dynamic versus a yes or a no, a black or a white, good or bad. Because there's two things I'm seeing in this spread for Gemini. Number one, if you've not experienced love, love was not aligned. So don't judge, but allow for a bigger picture. If indeed you're currently in a relationship, then allowing yourself to have compassion for both you and your partner as you realign how you are communicating with yourself and with your partner. All right, let's go on to Taurus. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Let's not forget Uranus transiting through Taurus. Lots of things going on that we don't always talk about every week because there's too many of them. Every video would be hours and hours long. All right. Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Lucy Rose, Chiron is conjunct your moon right now. That's an opportunity, you know. Might feel a little kooky. I had Chiron conjunct my rising sign not long ago. Everything's conjunct something at some point, I feel like. All right, here we go, Taurus. Our first angel is Fiona. The second is Akasha. The third is Azure. And the final is Patience. Conjunct, yeah. I've got Uranus floating around my moon. There's all this. I just feel like all of this transformational energy is really about breaking away the illusions and starting to get real so we can transform this planet into a lot more fun. And that's not the absences of challenge. I really think that. All right, here we go. Fiona is being joined by the communications card. Akasha is being joined by the Bee card. Azure is being joined by the forgiveness card. And Patience is being joined by the owl. Okay, so Fiona talks about, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving their guidance. And I want to offer it this way because she's very joyous. She's very happy and she's very relaxed in this. And then we have the communications card. Taurus, you know, I'm a Taurus moon. So there is a bit of stubbornness with Taurus. Taurus doesn't always forget when they've been hurt. And so there's a little bit of Taurus that can sit in their story. A little bit of going around and around. And I think what Fiona is saying is, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving a new experience and be mindful of how you are communicating to Spirit. Because when we communicate, I don't want a liar, I don't want a cheater, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to, push a shopping cart. We are really focused on lack rather than focused on abundance. Because Spirit has something to teach you right now about your being energy. And I want to offer it this way because Taurus will tend to push a little bit. That's what the bull does. It is a beast of burden. And Azure is saying, as your desired outcome will happen in the very near future, don't force it. And this is going to teach Taurus something. That's what Akasha is saying. By sitting in that very tenacious, bullish energy, but not pushing, just sitting, I know this is happening. I know I signed up for this. I know this is the chapter where I start to live the rewards. Lada will talk about upachaya houses and how they are houses that mature through our lifespan and present opportunities for reward when we are willing to endure the journey of discovery, because that's where I think the forgiveness card becomes a reconciliation. And then we have the patience card. Patience is not about sitting on something and holding my breath. It's more about walking through a situation and assessing things and then using what I have assessed to help others as well as myself. And this is being able to decipher how both deception and wisdom. What appears to be bad is good, and what is good is sometimes bad. There are hues of benefit in every perspective. So as Taurus starts to be more aware of their communication, as Taurus starts to align that communication to what they would like to experience in a more deep way, it's not about your own personal experience, but as you give life to that idea, then what you do is you're standing in this tenacious energy of knowing good things are coming to you, and that is of service to others. So I really want to offer this, as we walk through this week and we look at the Pluto's a scary planet. I'm not going to say it's not, but I keep trying to remember that Pluto has a heart in the center of it. It's a 600-mile wide heart, and you can see it from space. And when I'm willing to dig deep into my heart and what my heart wants, and I'm able to decipher that I actually deserve that, then I am standing in service to all that is, all those around me and the universe at large. And then my job is to allow those experiences in. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Aries. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Hi, just call me C. Good to see you. The idea is Atlantis rising. I don't know necessarily if I would go back to Atlantis, Keegan, but I will offer this. I'm sure there are souls on this planet that lived an Atlantean lifetime. And as we awaken to what we are manifesting and co-creating, then maybe Atlantis is rising on some level. Atlantis was a community and that's not correct, a community, it's bigger than that. Can't find the word I'm looking for right now. But Atlantis represented reward and a bit of, it was quite a luxurious environment, and yet it went out of balance. So I believe what we're doing is offering ourselves these opportunities to come through this stage of life and to see balance. So we're not too in the material. We're not too in the spiritual. Civilization. Thank you, CJD. I could not find that word in my brain. Anyway, Saturn is squaring me in my brain right now. So blah, blah. Anyway, but I want to offer it this way because I do think that many of us are incarnating now, again, to show this balance. I don't know if it's coming up out of the ocean. If it does, I'm a little scary. It's a little scary. Because I would think that would be indicating a lot of earthly movements. All right, let's get on to our Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Lucy Rose, utopia is often our perception. So as you start to look and seek out the opportunities in each experience, you will live a more utopian life, because what you get challenges, you'll find them as resources to empower you. All right, here we go. Aries, our first angel is Yvonne. Our second is Estera. The third is Teresa. And the final is Daniel, the angel of marriage. Very interesting. Well, Shelley, I think you just have to imagine yourself in Santorini with a beautiful beverage, a wonderful meal, and your eyes just basking. Because I want to say this, the more that we align to our best life, and the more that Spirit starts to bring those opportunities in, the more they bring them in, the more we're of service to others so that they can live their best life. Yvonne is being joined by the communications card, Aries. Estera is being joined by the Hawk. Teresa is being joined by the restriction card. And Daniel's being joined by the Water Fairy. This is interesting to me because, Aries is the pioneer. Aries is the truth seeker. Aries is the warrior, the crankmeister, the blunt, forceful energy. And sometimes I think that Aries gets a little bit mislabeled. And I say that because I think Aries is quite vulnerable. And I want to offer it this way because I'm an Aries rising. So I feel like it's time for Aries to be aware of their communications, to be aware, and don't judge them. I've had this weird conversation going on in my head. It's very patterned. It's very much from my history. It's very much from the dynamic I come from. And it's a conversation I don't enjoy. And as I've noticed that, I realize that part of it is I've got to be vulnerable to a new story. And in some ways, I've got to be able to really connect with spirit and rise above the situation to see how maybe all of that old communication was serving me in a way that I don't have to take with me into my future. Because spirit is saying it's time to put a restriction on other people's thoughts and opinions of things. And it's time to rise above and really reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. And this is what I want to say, because a lot of astrologers very easily go to Mars as being angry and being an angry partner, a resentful partner. And that's possible, but I don't think that Aries should be labeled that universally across the boards, because I think Aries is much more emotional and much more sensitive than anybody gives them credit for. So here we have the angel of marriage and we have the water fairy. And I believe that Aries does want to be in a partnership. I believe that Aries does want to be in an aligned partnership where they're allowed to be vulnerable, where they're allowed to not be a leader in sometimes and yet still be a leader. I feel like that Aries sometimes has been pigeonholed. This is the way this looks to me, and I feel like they're tired of it. So let's look at this. Let's look at the idea that we're going into eclipse season. And at the end of the month, we have a full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which gives us an opportunity to have the culmination of a belief system that doesn't work for us anymore. And what if these 3 weeks coming up before this, and the idea that Mercury is trining Pluto today, what do I think? What do I speak? What do I read? What do I saturate my mind in? And then Venus coming into trine with Pluto is giving us all an opportunity, but giving Aries an opportunity to truly be vulnerable to a new communication and to something that's not disempowering to you, but rather empowering to you, because you can see a bigger picture of things. And rather than having to go up against everybody and tell them, look, this is the truth, follow me, listen to me, validate me, you're like, no, I don't need that anymore. I don't need other people to agree with me, because I'm perfectly aware of my history and I'm perfectly aware of how I feel. And I can admit that I want to be in a relationship, and I'm willing to be vulnerable to the relationship and to how I talk to myself about relationships. Because I don't think Daniel's just talking about marriage. I think Daniel's talking about friends. I think Daniel is talking about co-workers. I think Daniel's talking about community. I think there is a lot of things going on here where Aries, the sign of leadership is a lonely sign. Leaders sit at the pinnacle. They're not in the pack. So I feel like this month, this beginning of this eclipse season, as Aries is willing to be more vulnerable in their communication to spirit about what they would like to experience in the way of connectedness to others, including their partners, I think there's an opportunity to experience something new and different. And now it's just about, it takes a very brave human to be vulnerable in their communications, and to be aware of their emotions, and to be aware of when in my vulnerability I'm inadvertently trying to give somebody something to help me fix it, because I don't think that's what this is about. Okay, I hope all that made sense, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will be back. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive guide, and astrologer. I have Neptune and Mercury in the 8th house of Scorpio, so a lot of this stuff feels like it comes through my intuitions. I want to thank everybody new in the chat today for joining. We love having new people come in, and I want to thank everybody who is a regular tribe member for showing up. I love you all so very much. And again, I want to thank someone for generously supporting the show with their tip. And I will be back next week at 11 a.m. Pacific time with more messages from your angels about the transits coming up. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and sending lots of love to you. Peace out.